Last time I did anything with this guy was April 24th. Having problems figuring out good ways to save pictures. Hopefully I saved a couple here. Maybe I can give you a couple looks at what it looked like then. If you go back and look at that video, I took this thing, had a really long part of the trunk, came up to about here and had a little apex on there. I don't know, the best way to describe it might be like a lazy man or even an impatient man's air layer. And then instead of actually air layering it, I kind of went through some of those steps and took it. Held on to some life for a little while, but it didn't make it. I mean, you know, not every cutting's ever going to make it. Not every air layer is going to make it. Kind of wish I'd have done it the right way, because it did have a nice little clump on top there. So now the only other one I have is actually a cutting that I took from that huge scar there, and that was just a saw cut, and I just happened to have a little pot there that I thought I could get it to set steady in, and it sat there, and sure enough grew some roots and everything. But that one's still alive. This top part kind of sprang back right away, and the only part I'm kind of disappointed with, I've been keeping this lower branch here, you know, first off trying to make it nice and thick for a low branch, trying to get a little bit thicker than a couple of these up here, and also so that it would help heal that scar because it comes right out of the bottom. And these didn't grow forever, and then about the time they did, I mean, like even this first one, you guys can't really see that all that good. You can see it maybe a little bit there. Actually got some, you know, some decent movement in there, and then it took forever to sprout any life, and then when it did, it gets a sprout straight up, 2 sprouts straight down, and barely any that are in, you know, and actually a third one here going straight down. So really a bunch of sprouts that are in unusable places. You know, it's time I go ahead, make a little sense of it, and see what I can do with it. I mean, like this one, you know, these 2 branches here right next to each other, this one's coming off the right way, this one's coming way over here, just coming right into that other branches area there. So, I mean, I will go ahead and just, since I mentioned it, start off with that guy. I am going to have to take these out. Again, this one's straight down, and then these 2 here straight off to the side. I'm going to leave both of those. Strong branch coming out from underside there, and then just a little twig there. About 2-3 weeks ago, this thing I noticed it stopped growing, started putting out fruit. Seems to be a thing with me and these willow leaves, is it'll get a bunch of growth, and then as that slows down, it just starts pumping out the fruit. And I was leaving these, but maybe if I cut the tips off there, maybe these will also get some budding in the places I actually wanted them. The rest of the sprouts are all, well, I say apical, but beyond this other scar here. I'll definitely leave, it's coming right above that scar there. That should help heal a scar. And then the next one up, there's really only 5 after that. I got that small one there. This one's pretty strong, but it's not at the apex just yet. Then I got this one Now this one's right in the apex. This one's the strongest. When I say the apex, it's right at the end of that scar from the chop I did the very last time. This one's actually already starting to heal that up a bit. This one is the strongest one, but it would actually be a bar branch to this one. And since it's a little bit too strong for being that low, that'll be the one I choose to take off. These two are just little sprouts. And then these guys here, and just kind of cut them down to size a bit. And then this up here was where I kind of, starting from actually this scar, I had left growth coming up, first off to try to suck that scar closed, or, try to get the sap flow to close that scar. And then the other idea was I was just trying to really get the whole tree to grow more. I left it alone, no wire and everything for a while. I got a couple movements out of it once I realized that I was letting it go too much, but it just wasn't enough, and that was where I just had that big long spot there with no, no back budding action going on or anything like that. So I don't want to do that here, but I don't want to slow it down too much. I got a growing tip at the end. There's one here, and there's one also here. So I think I'll just come down to that one. All right, and as I was coming up with a strategy on how I was going to wire it, I did decide I was going to go ahead and defoliate it. Figured you guys might want to get a look what it looks like there before I get the wire on. I took the bigger scar here, worked the inside with the Dremel a little bit. Usually what I do is I take the knife and I just kind of scrape these lightly. But that's been creating like a huge bulge there. So I actually took knob cutters and just cut it back. And that'll, again, it'll start rolling over there, but it won't be quite the bulge. And then up here in this upper one, I did the same thing, except this one was only getting a bulge on the one side, so I cut that off there. All right, I got the wire on there. Most of the branches moved around in place. I did struggle a little bit with these twigs up here. I wanted to get something on there that was actually this tree, but I've done it on a couple others where I said, well, it's too small, like one or two branches. I won't get any wire on it. And then, somewhere or another, the tree just kind of picks that as a spot that it can really grow easily out of. And then within a couple of months, you got one branch just kind of outgrowing the rest, sticking way up. But I've been putting this off for quite a while, and it is time. I think I get this in a little bit of a better pot. At least repot it and get a look at what I've got in here. I haven't been in there it's been 3 years now. I bought it about 3.5 years ago. It's a little bit younger than that to me. Repotted it almost right away. All right, I have had this thing out of the pot just recently just to, see what it's been looking like. Not quite as root bound and as many roots circling as you would think. But this soil is dense, and that first time that I did the repot, it was also a little bit of it was probably like the third or fourth tree I ever repotted. It was a little bit of I guess no other better way to put it than just like a half-assed repot. The soil was up to about that line there, and that was the other thing that kind of surprised me when I pulled it out of there. How, the more I cleaned it, it was just trunk. Got down here, the roots were a mess. All right, I am starting off on the wrong foot here. I'm left-handed. Should not be over there. One thing I do have This long one here, I was kind of unaware of that. That was that long and circling in there. I have to get that guy cut back where it's coming out of there straight. Alright. I've been having a really hard time getting any of these cuttings to grow when I take them up here. I have heard that willow leaf is one of the trees that will root from root cuttings. I'm going to go ahead and run this outside and try to plant it here real quick. Alright, I'll let you guys know if that makes it or not. Looks like there's one more rather long one circling I might be able to make something out of too. Although I did just use the last pot that I have that really that tall. Let's see. Alright, whenever I repot it, I'll probably wind up burying most of that, but now that I have this, all the dense soil out of there, and I can get it in some better quality soil, should make for a better repot next time. Good sized trunk, good taper. Alright, I went ahead and picked out this stoneware pot. I got this from a guy I met on Bonsai Nut. Or I'm sorry, they get all upset when I call it, but it's Bonsai Nut. He'll have the link to this if he wants to comment anything in the description. Alright, I don't have any problem with that. But I do think he might have mentioned that he was going to take a break from it for a little while anyway. I did trim the roots down just a little bit more. But I do feel like right about now I just got to get this guy in here. I just get worried about it drying out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get, this thing is almost right to the exact size of the pot I want, and I want to encourage the roots to grow out. Just back in a training pot again with something a little bit more shallow than this. And I don't really have anything, I mean, I've got some training pots that are more shallow than this, or not this one, but the pot that it was in. Much too small for this trunk. Alright, now that I got it halfway settled in there, I'm going to go ahead and get this tied down tight. Alright, so all in all, that's a decent looking pot and tree combination. Hopefully that spot where I took the bulge out starts working itself out there a little bit.